Today we're going to talk you through 5 of the best trail running shoes based on what type of distance you might like to do, what type of support, the surface that you're going to run on, and we're going to break down the comfort, fit and the sizing for all of these shoes. Welcome to Trail Shoes Reviewed. I'm James McCormick. I'm a knee, foot and ankle specialist physio, and alongside my team of trail running experts, we've tried and tested each of these shoes, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a better idea of what shoe might work for you. All the shoes we purchased with our own money, and you can find links to the shoes in the description below. So the first things we're going to talk about is the weight of the shoes, the stack height and the heel drop. So that can be really important for a number of reasons. When we talk about the stack height, we're talking about the amount of cushioning in the midsole, and the heel drop is the difference from the back of the midsole to the front of the midsole, and that's important because if it's a high drop it can take the pressure off things like your Achilles tendon, and if it's a lower drop it can place more pressure on your forefoot, and we'll talk about why that can be inferential later on in the video. So the heaviest of the shoes is the Brooks Cascadia 18, followed by the La Sportiva, then the Hoka, Salomon, and finally the lightest of all 5 shoes are the Scarpa Spin Planet. So first of all, it's really interesting when it's got to do with the Hoka, because despite being relatively light, it's packed with the maximum amount of stack, so the maximum amount of cushion in the midsole. So at the rear foot you've got 40 mils, and at the forefoot you've got 35 mils, giving you a 5 mil difference between the back to the front, which is really common in all the Hoka shoes, even on the road shoes. Then in contrast to that, with the Salomon, you've got 33 mils on the rear foot and you've got 25 mils on the forefoot. In the Brooks, we've got 33 mils on the rear foot, 25 mils on the forefoot, giving you an 8 mil drop. A really low drop on the Scarpa Spin Planet. We've got 28.5 on the back and 24.5 on the front. And then in the La Sportiva, we've got 26 mils on the back and then 16 mils in the front, giving you a 10 mil drop. So biggest drop out of all the shoes. Then in terms of the fit, so Hoka are renowned for having a tapered fit. So what that means is it starts to narrow up towards the big toe. You can find it uncomfortable if you have slightly broader foot, and in fact we've got a normal sized foot and it's still a little bit uncomfortable on our baby toe because it just wraps around a little bit too early. So you might find in some of the shoes they have a wider fit. We haven't found any in the Speedgoat 6. So in that instance we often recommend that you get half a size up. Then also in the La Sportiva Mutant 2 we've got a slightly tighter fit in the toe box, and that's to give a snug fit in it as it's a racing shoe, but you might find it's a little bit uncomfortable and you might need to get a half size up as well. Otherwise, generally a good true to size fit in the other 3 shoes, and in the Brooks Cascadia 18 you can definitely get a wider version if you feel that's applicable, but it's a typically roomy fit inside and we've had no issues with that so far. Then in terms of the upper mesh, so we've got slightly different upper in all of these shoes. We won't go into it in too much detail with the exception of the Spin Planet. So Scarpa have placed a huge emphasis on becoming as eco as possible, and in the upper mesh, one of the only shoes that we're aware of that have 100% recycled upper, and that hasn't taken away from the comfort, the fit or the breathability. It has quite a thin tongue, as you can see. In contrast to that, what we have with the La Sportiva is a gator upper, so you can see that it wraps around at the top of the shoe. That gives a super snug feel, so that's even quite snug when you don't lace up the shoe, but when you lace it down and then you tuck the laces underneath, then hardly anything's getting in there, so really snug fit, and no dirt or dust is likely to get into the shoe, so really nice comfort and snug feel. With the Hoka you've got a really thin upper, you've got a bit more cushioning on the Brooks and on the Salomon in terms of the tongue. All the shoes have a relatively padded heel apart from the La Sportiva, which you can see it's quite thin, and that can be quite helpful if you've got something like a Hagen's deformity, so you don't have as much compression against it, whereas all the rest are quite padded throughout the heel counter. Then some of the more important bits on the outer sole of the shoes. So with the La Sportiva, so we've got really big lugs that are spread out, so we've got 5mm on the lugs, and they spread them out alongside a stiff sole to increase the amount of contact area that you get with the shoe. So normally what we might look at is that we've got lots of lugs and they're close together to give you grip, but by having a really stiff sole that gives you more surface area contact with the ground and gives you a really good braking system, and when it's combined with the La Sportiva impact brake system it gives you really good traction on the roads. Then on the Scarpa, you've got the ATR rubber outsole. It's made up of 30% recycled material, while the midsole is 45%, so a really eco shoe. It's got 4mm lugs with excellent traction on technical terrain. Then when it comes to the Brooks outer and midsole, what you get with Brooks is a really cushioned outer and midsole. So it's really comfortable from the get-go, something that you can slip on and typically do quite a long distance with. It's got Brooks Trail Track Green rubber outsole, 4.5mm on the lugs. and it's got multi-directional lugs allowing for good traction in most scenarios. It's also made with 25% recycled materials, so good for those of you who are keen on keeping things as eco as possible. It's got good traction overall, so it's an excellent comfortable shoe with good traction, and we'll talk a bit later about what sort of distances might work best for each shoe. And then with the Salomon, we've got Salomon Contra Grip Rubber Compound, excellent traction on rocky and rugged terrain. It's got 4.5mm lugs and excellent on technical sections. Then with the Hoka Spigo, we also said it's typically a really good all-rounder. It's got the Vibram Mega Grip outsole, which is a high-performance rubber compound, excellent traction on technical terrain, and it's got 5mm lugs. So then when it comes to what would you typically use these shoes for? So with the La Sportiva, they're a little bit snugger, a little bit tighter on the foot, got the excellent gaiter on the upper, and it's an excellent shoe for technical runs on short to medium distance. As a little bit firmer, you might find that it doesn't have enough cushioning for longer distance runs. In contrast to that, with the Scarpa Spin Planet, I think that's an excellent shoe for more medium to longer runs. It's got brilliant cushioning to give you that extra bit of comfort, and due to the lugs design, it gives you excellent traction regardless of the type of terrain that you're on. If you're looking for an all-rounder, super cushioned, happy to compromise a little bit of weight, then we'd look at the Brooks Cascadia 18. It's also a shoe that we typically recommend if you just wanted to hike. So excellent for long distances, just keep in mind it's a little bit heavier. Another excellent all-rounder for both technical and short to long distance is the Salomon. Then with the Hoka Spigo 6, we recommend that it can be used for hiking, and then if you're looking for running, typically medium to longer distances because it's got that extra packed in cushioning and it's got excellent lug support. So there you have it, 5 of our most recommended shoes, excellent shoes throughout. We've got links to all of them in the description below. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comment section. If you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel.